Are we shooting already? Line. Yokoso. It's Monday, so you know what that means. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Monday, so today is Manga Monday, and for this week, you have me, Erik Senpai. Now, let's get into it by talking about the first manga that I'm gonna recommend for you guys. Jujutsu Kaisen! But not Jujutsu Kaisen, but please read it. If you've watched the anime, it's really great. The story gets so much better. Yes, but not this one. But Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0. Now, Volume 0 is the prequel to Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's really, really good. Now, let me just give you a little bit of insight onto what the prequel is about. Now, we start off with our main boy, Yuta. Many of you might have heard his name in the anime. He's been mentioned a lot, and you may have seen him in like the opening, and then also like kind of thrown in there, one of his images thrown in there when they were talking about him. So it revolves around him, and he is essentially, kind of like a teenager in middle school when the story starts, and he is being haunted by a cursed spirit, the cursed spirit of his best friend or his childhood friend. Now, one day he's at school and he's getting bullied by these kids, and the spirit doesn't like what's happening to him. So the spirit essentially grabs the kids, shoves them in the locker, and kind of killing them. So the sorcerers see, like they catch wind of this. They go to the school, capture him, and as the heads of Jujutsu High do, they want to execute him. And in comes my boy Gojo Satoru. Sound familiar? Should be familiar, right? To save him and basically tell the higher ups, don't worry, I'm going to take care of this kid. I'm going to train him to make sure that he can take control of his powers. Now, it's really cool because you get to see a lot of the characters from Jujutsu Kaisen, particularly talking about the second year students. In this, in the manga, it's going to be their first year, and they get to meet that. You get to meet them and see what the story was before. So I recommend that you read it because there's a movie coming out. If y'all have heard, there's going to be a movie about this story. Now, you can either buy it, because I bought it. I was like, yeah, I got to read it. Or you can go on the Shonen Jump app to read the story. I don't know if, they give some of the chapters for free, but I do know for the Shonen Jump app, you do pay like $2 to have access to their collection of manga, which I highly recommend if you're a Shonen Jump fan like me, because it's really good. And the other two, there's two other mangas that I'll bring up in the video that are also, you can access them through the Shonen Jump app. Now, the second manga that I'm going to recommend for you guys is called Harry Potter. No, it's not called Harry Potter, but it basically is Harry Potter, because this is what happens when a mangaka just rips off a Harry Potter and turns it into a manga. It's completely different from Harry Potter, but you can definitely see that it was inspired by. Why? Because Dumbledore's in there. You have the houses, you have Gryffindor, you have Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin, but they're not called that. They're called the Langdorm, Orchidorm, and the Alderdorm. So it's called Mashle, and it's a very comedic shonen. It's a battle shonen. It's really, really cool. So essentially what this story is about is that you have our main boy. His name is Mash Van Dead, right? That's a savage name for a character. And he lives in a world full of magic. However, he is magicless. right? Kind of sounds like, something you may know, Black Clover, right? But his dad knows that he's magicless, and in this world that's a big problem because they discriminate against people that don't have any magic to the point of execution. They will execute people just to keep those kinds of people out, right? So his dad knows about this. So as he's growing up, his dad hands him some weights, and he tells him to just one punch man workout every day till he gets really, really strong. So essentially that's what he does, and he becomes really buff and really strong to the point where he can beat some of these magic users just using his strength. Now, what his goal is to become a divine visionary in order to change the world and to make it accepting for everybody. No matter if you don't have any magic powers or you do, he wants to make this world accepting of everybody. However, that's really hard because the only way to become a divine visionary is to go to school. To what school? Magic school. Well, how do you get in magic school? Well, you got to have magic to get in school. So that is his predicament, and you should definitely see his journey getting into magic school and, overcoming these trials and helping his friends as the regular shonen way does, right? But, he's very typical, your main typical shonen hero. But it's very, very funny to see. So that's my second manga that I recommend for you guys. Now, the third manga that I'm going to recommend for you guys is a romance story. Now, it is about an assassin who gives up being an assassin for the love of his life. Oh, feels, right? Or at least I think that's hella romantic. So it's called Sakamoto Days. And essentially what this is about our main character, Sakamoto-kun, and his daily life as a retired assassin who runs a grocery store with his wife and his kid. Everything is going fine in his daily life till one day an assassin from his old organization comes in and tries to kill him. Turns out he learns from the assassin that he has a bounty out on his head, and essentially now he's in a predicament. How can he protect his family from being caught up in people trying to kill him? And it's a very, very comedic story, very cute as well, but a little bit, it's a bit of killing in there, obviously. But his main rule is that he does not kill, because his wife will leave him if she finds out he went back to his old ways. So he has to solve these issues without killing anybody. And it's very, very entertaining to read. So that's another one that I highly, highly recommend. The fourth and final manga that I will recommend for you guys this week is called The Way of the Household Husband. Now, if this title sounds familiar, well, you might have already heard it, but it is on Netflix. It just recently landed on Netflix. It's very, very funny. But if you're one of those people that watch anime for the animation, and if it has like bad animation, you won't watch it, I would recommend you read this one instead of watching it, because I've watched it and I've read it, but the animation that the studio went for is kind of different. Not your normal style animation, but it works because it's comedy. So I really enjoy it. But as I said, if you watch anime for the sake of animation, then read it, or just read it in general. It's a very, very awesome story. Again, another romance story. It's comedic, but I consider it romantic. Why? Because it's a similar premise to Sakamoto Days, in which you have a Yakuza member or ex-Yakuza member who gives up being a Yakuza for, again, the love of his life. His wife goes and works and makes the money. He stays at home, and he's a house husband. He does daily chores. He goes out to shop for groceries, all this stuff, but he still holds his demeanor as a Yakuza member. What that means is, for example, he'll go to a store and he'll be like, "Oi, kora, to the grocery clerk and say, such as, where is the white powder? And she's like, we don't sell that here. And his wife is like, no. He means the flour. And she's like, oh, it's in aisle whatever that way, right? So he still keeps his whole Yakuza demeanor about him. And, he has a really kind of mean, creepy smile. So, people are very intimidated of him. But it's a very, very fun read, short read. And you just get to see his daily adventures, doing stuff, and sometimes even running into other Yakuza members. But very, very funny. Also out on Netflix, so definitely go watch that. Or read it. And with that, guys, that's the manga that I'll recommend for you guys on today's Manga Monday episode. We will have another video out soon for you guys. And until next time,